My name is Brooke Apfel. I am the CEO of Coastal Collective Marketing. We are a full-service digital marketing agency, and we really specialize in strategic-backed content, and we're very obsessed with creative. So a lot of our clients are very particular about their aesthetic. So we have a couple of graphic designers and just brands that really value kind of that forward-thinking design. They want to make a good, strong first impression, but although that looks and kind of the visuals on social media are important, they also want their content to be backed by strategy and actually lead to results. So that's kind of what we specialize in. And we are a fully remote team. There are 12 of us, and I freaking love what I do.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you on, and I'm excited to get talking about the topic that we kind of been, going back and forth about. So just to give you some background also, so Brooke and their team actually manage the Loft 325 social medias, and they've done an amazing job with our design, aesthetic, and just really understanding the brand. So it's been great for our socials as well to really, elevate what we are wanting to get across. And that's what Coastal Collective has done. I wanted to just talk about in 2024, building a brand is going to be super, super important. And so wanted to talk to you just about, the organic side and social side of marketing, and then obviously the paid side. Really wanted to understand performance marketing was a huge driver, obviously, in 2021 through 2023. And I feel as though a lot of brands kind of neglected their actual brand and only really focused on performance. I feel like they lost touch with their customers. They were trying to ride the wave of just consumer purchases from COVID. And so now consumers and customers and clients are really focusing more on building more of that authentic brand strategy. And so I really wanted to see how you think organic really ties into the overall strategy for 2024 and kind of rolls into that paid social advertising.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with, when COVID happened, everyone was starting to take advantage of social media and just digital marketing as a whole. And they just realized how important it was. And they were just so obsessed with that performance marketing because it was basically a race to who can grow and who can, capture this audience the fastest. And I think that that's been the theme, and all these new features that have been released, and, even social media companies are, I feel like have been very performance driven and releasing Reels and TikTok and Threads and all these things. And I think that now there are so many brands on social media, and now it's going to be about what makes you unique and what makes your brand? Why am I going to connect with your brand? And just really getting back to the consumer, because there are a lot of options out there and they can offer the exact same service, but it really matters who you partner with and what brand you're buying from. And I think showing that personality and just that authenticity on social media is going to be a huge driving force over the next few years. I love that side of it. I think it's so much better to just be a real human, and that comes just more naturally and to me. And so I'm so pumped, and I love that our clients are excited about it too. And I think that organic and paid, they're so intertwined. And I think that organic social media is really just the foundation, basically. I think that it's no longer an option. It's kind of necessary at this point. I think that paid ads are just this massive support to basically supercharge your results, whatever you're going after. Obviously, organic, yes, you can grow on social media organically, and you can get purchases on social media organically, but especially in this day and age, it's a lot harder to reach that audience, especially for newer brands, without that support of paid ads. And we have clients that will come to us and we do a competitor analysis, and they will be like, well, this competitor has, grown this much this past 6 months. And then we look on the back end and they've been spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on paid ads. And I'm like, well, that is not going to be achieved organically. And so it's important to share the full picture of clients, because, there's this conversation on organic of how to go viral. And that is A, not strategic, just to want to go viral. And B, the chances of going viral are so slim, and that's not a strategy. What are you going to do with all those new eyes? And that's not what you want to rely on for growth or for conversions in your business. Having this built out strategy of organic and paid working together is just so important. And I just feel like paid content helps you learn, especially for a newer brand, learn so much about your audience and the creative they're responding to and the copy they're responding to and who they are and their attributes, which really just helps you to fine tune your messaging so much faster and just kind of scale so much faster.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think too, especially when paid clients come to us and they're saying, we want to do performance creative, we want to do performance marketing, my biggest thing always to them, especially smaller brands or brands who just, haven't really dabbled in the sort of paid performance side, my biggest thing to them is always, well, what's your organic? Are you nurturing your organic social? Are you making sure that you're speaking to your customers? Because really at the end of the day, it's like a consumer is always going to click on an ad, check it out, but then always go to their socials. So it's like, if your socials aren't up to date, if your socials aren't being nurtured, then people are probably going to think you're just a drop ship brand. And it's like, it's just not going to work for you. So it's like one of those things that I feel like, again, organic and paid are so important. And I think sometimes that brands just, like you said, like they want to go viral. They want to, just get their products out there and they don't really care about the strategy so much. And it's like, okay, but they work so cohesively together that we need to make sure that you're nurturing both in order to grow.
Yeah. And I think it does. I think that it's so true. Like I just think of myself as a consumer, I see a paid ad, I go to their socials and I want to see like, it really is this like source of trust and source of credibility. And when I see that like, oh, they have like a solid brand community, they post consistently. I like watch, they were on stories today. I watched their stories. I'm like, okay, this is like a legit brand. Like they care about what they're doing. They clearly care about their customer. They feel it's not this like robotic cold. It just feels like, oh, I trust these people and they care about their brand. And so I feel like it makes it so much easier to move them from, usually especially if I just found them from like a brand awareness campaign, I just became made aware of their brand, but it's moving me from brand aware to conversion like way faster when they have that strong organic presence. And it helps eliminate necessary touch points to have your audience convert, which is, does save you money in the long run. So I think that having both strategies, paid and organic, working together, it actually saves you money as opposed to just doing one or the other.
So then, in terms of, you brought up brand awareness. So obviously we have on the paid side, we have top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom funnel. That's very true in organic marketing also. So when you are talking to your clients in terms of organic marketing funnel, like how would you break that down for top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel?
Yeah, I think that it definitely depends on what platforms that they're on, but take for instance, Instagram, which I think is kind of the foundational platform that basically every brand is on. We really view different types of content and different types of messaging for different parts of the funnel. We view like bottom of funnel content for conversion, not even necessarily a purchase on social media. It's more moving them off of social media onto something you own. So whether that's your website, whether that's your email list, that's kind of a conversion in our brains. And a lot of times it can lead to a purchase, but sometimes it doesn't. But our bottom of funnel content, a lot of it, I would say 90% of it is happening on stories and then through ManyChat. We use ManyChat for a lot of our clients in Reels. So their audience is commenting and it's directly sending them a link because people on social media are just, I wouldn't say we're lazy, but we have fast-paced lives. Like even the link in bio, it's kind of like you really have to be excited about something. So you want the link either sent directly to you or it's in a story that you can click right there, and it makes that conversion so easy and so streamlined. And then that middle of funnel content is really where we're finding like our carousel posts, our educational content, basically like qualifying ourselves either as an expert in the industry if we're service-based or qualifying our product and building that trust. So showing testimonials, reviews, other people who have used the product, UGC content, that's building a lot of that trust and credibility. And then that top of funnel content is really going to be basically, we know your pain point and we know the problem you have, and this is how we solve it. So I feel like the top of funnel is just speaking to those pain points, and that middle of funnel is this is how we solve it, and that bottom of funnel is here is how we can solve it for you, and here's the exact link to make things really streamlined. So different types of content support these things usually better. Like obviously Reels can be used for anything, but I'd say they're best for top of funnel and bottom of funnel. Top of funnel because they're just geared more towards the explore page, and you're just going to get more reach and brand awareness than other types of content. And then also with the use of ManyChat, it's great for that bottom of funnel as well. And then we actually find like feed content and just consistent stories really good for that middle of funnel and nurturing and just being a human and showing the brand's personality and showing what the brand knows and what they offer and kind of what makes their product or service unique.
It's funny that you mentioned all of this stuff because again, like we, obviously as performance creatives, we work with several brands. Everyone again is always like, well, we want people to understand like who we are at the top of the funnel. Middle of funnel, again, like you said, is essentially re-engaging engagement, testimonials, like getting people more into your actual brand. And then bottom of the funnel for paid is usually just more like sales, like you've already nurtured them. And then obviously you want to continue to keep them. So it's actually really funny because organic and paid literally are so intertwined. And it's just hilarious that, you know, there are still a lot of brands that like, they don't see that. Like, and I think that's always, you know, such an interesting point, especially again, on the paid side, is that our biggest thing is, okay, top of funnel, like this is where we need to really talk about like, what is the problem you're trying to solve? And again, I think that's something that a lot of brands still struggle with because again, there's so many things that are being thrown at them through social. Where do I start? And I think honestly, like the biggest thing that they need to focus on is, like you said, what are you really, really trying to solve and what differentiates you from every other brand out there? And how are we going to stand out through socials and how are we going to stand out through paid? And I think again, like creatively, that's always such a big lever to pull for paid again, because creatives are really what drive people to your website, to your landing pages. Same with, you know, social media. It's the stories, it's the reels, it's the content that you're putting out. In terms of organic, how are you guys focusing on creative for those different parts of the funnel?
I would say that the biggest, like especially for Instagram, like that, the creative for your feed, because people are usually like, if they find you on a paid ad and they click over your profile, I think that, you know, people are like, feed aesthetic isn't everything. And that's so true. It's not. If you're going to stop somebody's scroll organically or paid, your creative needs to be on point. And I think that not only does it have to just be kind of scroll stopping, but elevated and designed well for its purpose, because paid ad creative is so different than organic creative, as you know. And creative, you have to do honestly so much more in it. You have to tell more of a story in that creative. Or organic, you're doing it over time and you have a lot more room and space, and you can do it over multiple posts. You don't have to like basically share the whole brand kind of story in one creative. Where ad, it's like you usually have like that one shot and that's someone's first impression. So I feel like creative really is so important as far as like the visuals and the actual design of it. And then also with just reels. And I think that we could get away with for a couple years, and I was guilty of this, lots of stock photos and just not well designed things, because social media wasn't as competitive. And now it's like, that's not going to cut it anymore. And I think that a lot of brands are starting to realize like brand photos and great photography, it's not an option. It's not like, oh, I hope I can invest in that. I think a lot of brands are unfortunately starting and they either don't have proof of concept, they don't have a concept that's actually solving a problem, or they're not unique enough from the competition and they don't spend enough time kind of fine tuning that. And so they come to the market and they are just trying organic social media management and they're not standing out and they're not finding their audience, and they get frustrated that they're not growing. And like, well, you don't have a product or service that's unique enough. You didn't invest in anything that's making you unique. Your branding is bland and you don't have any photos that are making you stand apart or adding any personality to your brand. And so I think that brands are starting to realize the importance of really strong creative assets, and that it's not just like, oh, this is a bonus, but it's like, this is actually necessary to strong marketing.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, we have brands come to us and they have like not a ton of photos to work. They have like 10 photos to work with that their cousin took. And I'm like, this is not going to work. Like that's why we offer photography and videography that's geared towards organic social, because I'm like, this won't cut it. And then their thing is like, oh, we can't afford it. And I'm like, then that is a business problem. Like I think that brands are like, well, can you just work with what we have? And I'm like, no, because you're not getting the results that you want. And blame it on us when I'm like, we're telling you right now that you're not ready for social media management, or you're not ready for paid ads yet. Like if you don't have your branding and your unique value proposition and all those things figured out, like investing in social media management and paid ads is just gonna be a waste of your time. And like, we can really help you fine tune that and fine tune what makes you unique and all these things. But if you're not ready to put in kind of the work on your end and the investment on your end for as far as photography and management, it's just gonna be a waste of everyone's time.
Again, like, you know, it's building the brand, it's building your presence, it's building everything. You can't have one without the other. There's definitely, you know, from your landing page design to your email flows to your social, all the way down to paid ads. Like it's that whole customer funnel, it's that whole customer journey. Like how are people viewing your entire brand holistically? And again, you can't come to us and want to run paid ads right away if you don't have all these other pieces in place. Like when we do our paid audits, that's really the first thing we look at. Like, what's your social? What's your landing page? What's your email? How are all these flows working together? If something's broken in the chain, then it's not going to flow correctly. So again, I think that's just something that, brands, clients, like they're always struggling to understand that because they want something to work and they want it to work right away. But making sure that everything is fine-tuned and everything's working is, obviously the biggest thing that they need to work on. So in terms of, obviously like the customer journey, what are your touch points for organic within a customer journey?
Yeah, so organic, this is where paid ads really helps because organic, even our top performing posts on our social media and most of our posts, even when they're doing really well, those are only seen by like 30% of our audience. And when you think about that, you need like 8 to 12 touch points, depending on the product price, to make a conversion. That is so much content organic to hopefully have enough touch points to make that happen. And so that's why, organic is necessary and really builds that foundation and is such a great supporter. But you are going to have a very difficult time making all of those touch points if that's all you're relying on. And that's what we'll get. We'll get some brands that come to us and their entire game plan basically for marketing is social media organically. And we're like, you're going to be really frustrated. Like, we're happy to manage your socials, but it's going to take you a long time to see results that you want to see. And so I think that that's where paid ads comes into play because it adds so many more touch points. It adds that credibility. And then also on top of that, there's email marketing, there's your website, there's all these different touch points that you need to have in place that you were talking about to make that customer journey smooth. And if there's a break in it, then you're going to have organic socials could be going so well, but if your website is not converting and is not doing its job, then you're not going to see those conversions that you want. And you're going to feel frustrated. And so everything needs to really, all those touch points need to be working together and supporting each other and working really well. And I feel like organic social media really is more for that like top of funnel, middle of funnel. Because like I said, that bottom of funnel, those conversions, we're seeing a little bit more conversions on social media, like TikTok Shop, obviously, and you can shop on Instagram. So we are seeing an increase, but I would say that most people are not finding a brand on social media and then turning around and making a purchase.
Right.
Unless it's a very small purchase price, that's more of like an impulse buy. It's $10, they don't really care. But I think that people are being more mindful about the money that they're spending, especially in this kind of recession-y time period. And so consumers are just getting smarter and they are doing a little bit more research. And so I think that they're finding brands on social media and they're kind of building that trust, but then they're moving off of social media and they're usually moving on to their website. Mm-hmm. From there, they're getting retargeted, hopefully by a great paid ad. And that whole kind of ecosystem is working to get them to make a purchase.
And we've seen that a lot, obviously, just in, our marketing and even with, paid ads, there's more education that is having to go into ads now. It's not just, a 7-day click window. It's a 14 or 28 day. Like, it's definitely a longer time frame, especially for those pricier options. And I do think a lot more consumers are focused more on quality of brands now that they're purchasing, as opposed to, like you said, those kind of quick, just impulse buys. And we've seen that a lot, honestly, just in the last month. It's been kind of crazy with how long it's taking us to actually get a customer to convert now. So again, all these things obviously tie in together when it comes to organic, when it comes to paid. These are all just things that it's just all part of the journey. And that's why everything has to work so closely together. So for social this year, what trends are you seeing that is something that could help with organic?
I think organically, trends itself, I think it depends on what brand you are. I think there's a lot of clients will come to us and they want to take advantage of every single trend. And sometimes it'll work for them, but I think it's more important to stay consistent to your brand. So when a trend comes up is not just automatically thinking oh, I'm going to do that, but it's does it actually fit within your brand, your messaging, will your audience enjoy it? Will they get it? Sometimes they're funny and your audience will find it really humorous and love it and relate to it. And other times they might not understand it because it doesn't fit within your brand. And so it's important to keep that kind of filter when you're seeing these new trends come across. But as far as the bigger items, I think that showing that personality, the behind the scenes of brands, people want to know who the owners are. They want to see humans behind the brand. And I think that it's just important to keep in mind the brand's personality. And I feel like we're seeing there's brands that do this, really, really well. And then there's brands that don't, and they're just losing that trust and they're losing that kind of credibility, and their engagement is just so low on social media. And they might, be a massive brand, but their engagement sucks. And it's almost like they just have a presence on there. I would say a brand that actually does this really, really well, I'll name 3 that I've been really enjoying following, is Netflix does this really well, and they know their brand personality. I would say they're just funny, relatable. Chili's has such a funny personality on social media. Like, you would never think to follow Chili's. I could not tell you why I would ever follow Chili's, but if you follow, like, they're so funny and they're so good at relating to you, and they know their audience. They know why people go to Chili's. They're not trying to be this like high-end restaurant. Like, they just know who they are, and that's who they are on social media, and it's great. And then also TSA. Like, I think that TSA is a surprising personality on social media, which is really refreshing, because I think that you think of it as this like government corporation. It's like stuffy, and they're just like rule followers and all this stuff, but their social media, it's totally not that way. It's lighthearted, and everything is a pun on their content, and it's just so well done. So I think you have to really find what makes you unique on social media, even if it's unexpected, and run with it, and just build your audience around that, and just be really consistent with like that type of content, being authentic and relatable. So yeah, I would say those 3 brands are some of that I'm really enjoying right now. But I think that the trend this year is really just taking down the like mask of having to be this like professional robotic brand, because at the end of the day, like, nobody really knows what they're doing, and we're all just human beings, like, doing our best and checking Gmail 500 times a day. So I think like, be yourself and show that you care about what you're doing, and you care about what you offer, and you care about your audience's pain points, and they're going to connect with that and convert with that so much more.
I definitely agree. I think, again, like, that's something that we've been noticing too, just in paid overall, is just the authenticity that people are really looking for. They're looking for those founder stories, those relatable topics or testimonials that people can really focus on. And I mean, I think you hit it. Like, no trend is going to work for every brand, and making sure that you're picking and choosing the ones that are right for your brand voice is something that is really important, especially in 2024. But I just, I think honestly, just wrapping it up, I wanted to say thank you, Brooke, for doing this with me. I love working with you guys, and I'm excited to see, what we can do together and where you guys go in 2024.
Yeah, we love working with you. We're so excited. I'm really excited for this year. I think it's going to be a year of good, refreshing content. So I think it's going to be great. So yeah, thanks for having me.